On a warm summer day in a bustling metropolis, a human was born. But this was no ordinary human. This human was born with no pre existing internal processes, no instincts, no thoughts wired into them from birth. A blank slate. The doctors and nurses were baffled. They had never seen anything like it. The human was perfectly healthy in every other way, but their mind was a complete blank. They didn't cry when they were hungry or wet. They didn't suckle on their mother's breast. They didn't even blink when a bright light was shone in their eyes. The doctors and nurses didn't know what to do. They had never seen a case like this before. They consulted with specialists from all over the world, but no one could offer any answers. The human's parents were devastated. They didn't know how to raise a child who didn't have any basic instincts. They tried everything they could think of to teach their child, but nothing worked. The human grew up in a loving and supportive household. Their parents were determined to teach them everything they knew, but it was a slow and difficult process. The human had to learn everything from scratch, from how to eat and drink to how to walk and talk. But the human was a quick learner. They were curious and eager to learn about the world around them. They asked endless questions and absorbed information like a sponge. As the human grew older, they began to develop their own unique personality and interests. They were drawn to science and philosophy. They loved to learn about the world and how it worked. They were also fascinated by the human experience. They wanted to understand what it meant to be human. The human's journey was not easy. They faced many challenges along the way, but they never gave up. They were determined to learn and grow. One day, the human was walking through a park when they saw a group of children playing. The children were laughing and crying and running around carefree. Were laughing and running around carefree. The human stopped to watch them. They felt a strange longing in their heart. They wished they could play with the other children. But the human knew that they were different. They didn't have the same instincts as the other children. They didn't know how to play. The human turned to walk away, but then they stopped. They realized that they could learn how to play. They could learn anything that they set their mind to. The human turned back to the group of children. They took a deep breath and walked towards them. "Can I play with you?" they asked. The children looked at the human curiously. They had never seen anyone like them before. "Sure," one of the children said. "What do you want to play?" The human thought for a moment. They didn't know any games, but they were determined to learn. "Let's play tag," the human said. The children agreed, and the game began. The human didn't win the game, but they didn't care. They had fun. They had learned how to play a game, and they made a new friend. The human continued to learn and grow. They went to school and got a good education. They got a job and started a career. They fell in love and got married. They had children of their own. The human's life was not easy, but they were happy and fulfilled. They had overcome many challenges to get to where they were, and they were proud of what they had accomplished. One day, the human was sitting on their porch watching their children play. They smiled. They were grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow. They were grateful for the people who had helped them along the way, and they were grateful for the life that they had built for themselves. The human knew that they would continue to learn and grow for the rest of their lives. They were excited to see what the future held. Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the fact that machine learning is actually a process of the machine learning. Many people think of machine learning as a black box, something that's too complex to understand. But in reality, machine learning is a relatively simple concept. It's all about teaching computers to learn from data. Here's a simple analogy that I can use to explain how machine learning works to people who aren't really actually familiar with technical details. I like sticking with these stories. So imagine that you have a child who's trying to learn how to play baseball. You could teach the child the basic rules of baseball and how to hold a bat and swing at a ball, but ultimately the child is only going to learn how to play baseball by practicing. Machine learning algorithms work in a similar way. You can teach the algorithm the basic rules of the task that you want it to learn, but ultimately the algorithm is only going to learn how to perform the task by being given data to actually practice on. So the more data that you give the algorithm to practice on, the better it will become at performing the task. And the more diverse the data is, the better the algorithm will be able to generalize to new data. So, what does it mean for a machine to learn? When we say that a machine is learning, we mean that it's able to improve its performance over time without being programmed. In other words, a machine learning algorithm can learn from data and get better at what it does without being told what to do. There's no programming, no coding that goes into it and says, "Hey, you're going to learn this skill." All that's given in that process is here's some data, learn from the data, and then hopefully you learn the skill. How do machine learning algorithms learn? Machine learning algorithms learn by finding patterns in data. They do this by analyzing large amounts of data and looking for correlations between different data points. Once a machine learning algorithm has found a pattern in the data, it can use that data to make predictions about new data. For example, a machine learning algorithm can be trained to classify images of cats and dogs by given a large data set of images that may have already been labeled as either cat or dog. The algorithm would then analyze the images and look for patterns that distinguish between cats and dogs. Once the algorithm's found a pattern, it can use that pattern to classify new images as either a cat or a dog. And then, so again, that's not programmed into the machine. There's no process that ever occurs where you program it in and you say, this is a cat, this is a dog. You give it images and the data of it, and then eventually it learns to distinguish and then makes a prediction. So you give it an unlabeled image, and then it predicts this is a cat or this is a dog. Machine learning algorithms can also be used to learn more complex tasks, such as predicting customer churn or detecting fraud. In these cases, the algorithm would need to be trained on large data sets of data that includes the desired output. For example, to train a machine learning algorithm to predict customer churn, you need to give it a data set of customer data that includes the customer's churn status. Once the algorithm is trained, it can be used to make predictions about new data. For example, you could use the algorithm to predict which customers are most likely to churn and then target them with special offers or customer support. So, why is it called machine learning? Machine learning is called machine learning because it's all about teaching machines to learn. Machine learning algorithms learn from data and improve their performance over time without being explicitly told what to do. This is in contrast to traditional programming where you have to explicitly tell the computer what to do. With machine learning, you can simply give the computer data and let it learn on its own. So, in conclusion, machine learning is a powerful tool that can be used to solve all sorts of problems. It's also a relatively simple concept to understand. Machine learning is all about teaching computers to learn from data. If you're interested in learning more about machine learning, there's a number of resources available online and in libraries. You can also find many machine learning tutorials and courses here on YouTube. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below.